So this is the first video on this channel. As you see, there's no special setup. There's no anything like that. I'm just doing this because I want to. I already have another channel somewhere else that's about tech. And so that channel has all the bells and whistles. This channel, I just want to talk to the camera. And if you don't know by the name, I am a draft nerd. And with the NBA draft coming up, there's some things I want to talk about. Well, really just one thing I want to talk about in this video. And I felt so passionate about it that I felt like I had to make a channel and record a video. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and get into the video. My name's Arian, by the way. But anyway, there's something I want to talk about by the title. You should know that basically I am tired of NBA journalism and how just trash it can be. And I'm trying to keep this video short because, like, who am I? All right, I'm just some guy. I have no ties to the NBA. Let's see, what else? I only played basketball in middle school, but I've always been a fan of basketball. My two sports were football and baseball. That's what I was good at. Basketball, I played for fun all the time, but never like organized outside of middle school. But anyway, that's besides the point. I am tired of NBA journalism, especially when it comes to the draft. Now, granted, the reason I care about the draft so much is because my team, the Charlotte Hornets, they're trash. And look, if I ever do more videos on this channel, and when I talk about players, I'm not going to talk about, like, I'm not going to call players trash. I've never been to the NBA, didn't even play college ball, so who am I to call them trash? The only people I'm ever going to call trash are the Hornets, and that's just because I'm passionate about that team, but I don't really feel that way about anybody in the league, because they're there for a reason. So that's just besides the point, so just bear with me. Anyway, that's why I care about the draft so much, is because the Hornets are always a team that the draft is important to that team, because they're always at the bottom. They're always the 10th seed basically every year, no matter who we have, no matter if it's Melo, no matter if it's Kemba, no matter, I mean, we had that one year with Kemba game, and we played game 7 against the Heat, and really if that fan didn't make D-Wade mad, we might have made it to the second round. But anyway, yeah, the reason NBA journalism makes me mad when it comes to the draft is because these guys like me don't play basketball. They probably never played basketball, probably don't even know much about basketball. They just like watching basketball. Nothing wrong about feeling like you need an outlet if you like watching basketball. The thing is that they don't cover basketball, if that makes any sense. They cover like the drama of basketball, and to me that's not basketball. So what I would like to do here specifically, if I make more videos on this channel, I don't know how it's gonna go, but is that I would like to actually cover basketball. And for me personally, I would just like to cover, you know, the draft. And that's just because growing up, my first sport I ever really watched on TV constantly, I'm from North Carolina, so I always watched college basketball. That was my thing. The NBA was cool, but I was young, so I really honestly didn't even know the difference. I mean, I knew one was college, one was pro, but it was all basketball to me. Grew up a big University of North Carolina fan, always will be. We were so close this year, but that second half really messed us up. But besides the point, I'm very passionate about watching these players go from college to the pros, just seeing how they grow, seeing how they translate. That's like something I really enjoy. And like I said, that might be because I'm a Hornets fan, so I have to pay attention to the draft, and then I see all these guys that the Hornets should have got. Like, that's kind of how it goes. So basically, I just want to talk about the draft. And the reason NBA journalism pisses me off so much is because the lack of knowledge there is when it comes to the NBA draft. For example, I was listening to a podcast. I'm not going to say the name of the podcast because I'm not here. Like once again, who am I? But basically, in the title, and if I give away, I'm going to say the title, that might give it away if you watch this podcast and if you like this podcast or like the co-host or whatever. I'm sorry, but it just really made me mad to the point where I had to make this video. Well, I felt like I had to make this video. In the title, they had Kyrie Irving news, or is Kyrie Irving gone, something like that, plus NBA draft. Now, granted, this Kyrie Irving thing, yeah, it's like, okay, it could change the NBA. Cool. But the thing is, the draft is literally, what, today is the day before the draft, so I heard this podcast yesterday. So that's 2 days before the draft. So they literally did like 15 minutes on the draft, and they asked one guy, you know, there's two guys who host this podcast, and one guy asked the other, you know, what are your thoughts on the draft? And the guy only knew the first 3 prospects. Literally, he was like, I know Chet Holmgren's gonna go. And then like, it was just the way he really like it just showed that he didn't care. Like he was like, I know Chet Holmgren's gonna get drafted. I know Paolo Banchero. I always mess up his name, but I really like him. Banchero is gonna get drafted, and I know that who's the third guy? Oh, Jabari Smith is gonna get drafted in some order, and that's all I know about the draft. My thing is, it's 2 days at that time. I mean, it depends how you want to see it, but yeah, it's 2 days before the draft, and you tell me you only know 3 prospects, and you run a basketball podcast, and you had the like audacity to put draft predictions or like draft whatever in your title, and you only talk about for 15 minutes, and you talk about potential Kyrie trades for the whole first 4. Like, this is the thing, and this is just my opinion. So the Lakers, people who are Lakers fans, there are definitely diehard Lakers fans out there, but Lakers are a global team. So a lot of people who like the Lakers just like the Lakers. They just like the colors. They just like the hype around the Lakers. Nothing wrong with that if that's how you embrace basketball. But a majority of the Lakers fans, that's all they care about. They don't care about like actually what's gonna happen. You know what I mean? They just care about who's on the team they on opening day for the season. That's what they care about. They don't really care about free agency. They don't really care about the draft, and that is what it is. Same with most Bulls fans. They don't really care about who's drafting. It's because it's a global team. And then you have teams like maybe the Nets now that they have Kevin Durant and Kyrie. I can't think of another team on top of my head. Knicks fans, when they're good, they're kind of the same way, right? Right now, of course, more Knicks fans are more in depth just because where the Knicks are. But in general, usually, like when they had Carmelo, because I gotta say Melo for the Hornets. But anyway, when they had Carmelo, that was the thing. They didn't really care about the draft because we're good, and that's just how those teams work. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the thing is, when it's time for the rest of the NBA season, the Warriors won a title, and that's another team where it's at this point it's becoming a global team. So what they do in the draft doesn't matter, but that's all people want to talk about. Granted, Warriors different because they just won a title, so let them talk all summer long about the Warriors. They deserved it. They worked their butt off to win a championship. But then there's 14 other teams that don't make the playoffs outside of the 16 that do, and then those teams don't get talked about enough, in my opinion. And yeah, you can say, oh well, he's just a salty Hornets fan. Could be, but it's just like, don't put it like in your do something else then. If you're gonna put that you're gonna talk about the draft, actually talk about the draft, or you're a very well established publication. Bring somebody on to talk about the draft. If you don't know anything about the draft, then bring someone on to talk about the draft. If you don't know anything about free agency, bring someone on about free agency. No one wants to always hear about the drama in the NBA. So that's why sports journalism, and I see it the most in the NBA. NFL, they usually, like people who cover the NFL usually do a good job of, okay, and this is another thing real quick. There's nothing wrong with the NBA. Like, let's say you don't care about the draft. There's some people who don't want to watch college basketball because it is sloppy. There are people who just don't care about the draft necessarily. Fine. But the draft is the next biggest thing coming up in the NBA. It would not hurt you to spend a week and this is your job, it wouldn't hurt you to spend a week to just learn a couple of players so you can have something to talk about. Instead, just give me some weak answer of, oh, Chet Holmgren, Jabari Smith, and Paolo Banchero. Then don't talk about it. It's just frustrating because it's been like that for years. I thought about doing this exact same kind of video last year, and I think maybe the year before that, but I decided not to just because, like I said, I already have a channel where I do tech stuff, and I really do love doing that channel. So it was hard for me to go ahead and start up another channel. But I guess the third time's the charm. I just got so frustrated, and I'm that kind of person. Like if I like something, I'm passionate about it. And so it was just frustrating to hear. And that's not the first in that publication. If y'all find out which one it is, that podcast, that they're not the first or only to do it. There's a lot who do it, and they just blatantly just don't know. And there's nothing wrong with not knowing. Just admit you don't know and bring somebody on. Like Stephen A, as as like a meme, he is. Like it's funny and stuff sometimes, but he's the same way. Like instead of just saying you don't know, they try to pretend that they know. Like just do your research. Like for example, I'm gonna give Kenny Beecham, KOT4Q, Kenny for real, or however you know, one of my favorite YouTubers, probably my favorite YouTuber. I don't know. Anyway, he is really good. Like, he always talks about how he doesn't know much about, he doesn't like watching college basketball except for March Madness. But I guarantee you, every time he does his due diligence, going into March Madness, boom, I guarantee he looks at all the prospects who are in March Madness, make sure he watches them so that he can provide content in relation to the NBA draft. He doesn't want to go into there blind. He doesn't want to go into the NBA draft not knowing anything. He doesn't want to go into the NBA draft only knowing the top 3 prospects. He's not going to know everybody, and I'm not asking anybody to know everyone's weaknesses and strengths and things like that, but just know something. And I guarantee you, before draft night, he might not make a video. He's not necessarily putting out content, but as a basketball fan, he understands the draft is the next biggest thing outside of the finals at this time. Like, you know, these last week. So I, you know, speaking as him, I should learn what I need to learn about these prospects, and I just feel like nobody else does that. I mean, there's other people. Like, don't get me wrong, there's other people. Hoops Intellect is another good channel that does NBA draft stuff. And then, you know, you obviously got like the Chad Forwards and Raphael Barlows and things like that. There's draft content out there. It's just frustrating when these big publications or just podcasts in general pretend that they know about the draft and then just misguide. It's like, just don't talk about it. If you want to be if you want to have the type of content where you just talk about NBA news, then just talk about NBA news. Like, talk about the Kyrie. Like, for the other 14 teams, that don't really matter because more than likely none of them are going to get them. I don't think, off the top of my head, I don't see any team that didn't make the playoffs. I guess if you want to count the Clippers, maybe that even have a chance to get Kyrie or even would want Kyrie at this stage. It's just frustrating as someone who, I guess, like I said, it could be because the team I like is a team that's trash, that's, you know, notoriously trash and notoriously not in the playoffs. So maybe that could be what it is. But it's just so frustrating hearing these just NBA journalists or NBA whatever just talk about basketball but know nothing about basketball and don't try. That's my thing. If you don't know anything about the draft, if you don't know anything about free agency, just admit it. You don't have to pretend, or you don't have to get up there and give whack answers. Like, if you're gonna put NBA draft talk in your title, bring someone in. Like, okay, great example. Mark Stein released a podcast 2 days ago, yesterday, where first half he had Steve Kerr, because Steve Kerr's the coach of the Warriors. They just won a championship. So of course, I'm gonna have Steve Kerr. And this video is running long, so I'm about to cut it short. I'm about to cut it right here soon, but he had Steve Kerr. Okay, of course people want to hear from Steve Kerr. They just won a championship after 2 years of not even making playoffs. Clay coming back, Draymond playing better than he has in a long time to me. Steph doing his thing, like Steph finally getting that Finals MVP. Those are great things that I want to hear. Regardless, I mean, unless you're a Warriors hater, but regardless, you should, you know, you want to hear about that. Cool. And in the second half, he brought on, I can't remember, is it Jonathan Giovanni? I may be getting his name wrong, but I think he's from Draft Express, and I think ESPN either acquired him or acquired Draft Express as a whole. But either way, he came on there and talked about the draft. So that was the perfect podcast. Mark Stein is the type of guy where he talks about NBA news, where he's plugged in talking about players who are in the NBA now, and he learns what he can about the draft, but he's never pretended to be some type of draft expert. But he brought in someone who is a draft expert, and there's nothing like that. That's perfectly fine. So I really do hate when people just pretend. Like, I just feel like a lot of sports reporters just talk just to talk, and they don't really take time to understand what they're talking about, and that's frustrating. And I feel like it's not even just in sports. We can have a whole talk that's in a lot of stuff, but it's just very frustrating in sports when you care about something like that. Like for me, especially about the draft, I really care about the draft. I care about the NFL draft, NBA draft, and my NFL team is the Ravens. I mean, the draft's we draft well, and we don't normally pick up players from free agency. So, like, I get it. Maybe that's why I care about the draft so much, but I really care about the NFL draft. I love watching college football, watching those players grow and progress and become NFL superstars sometimes. So, yeah, that's it. That's my rant for today. I really like doing this. I might clean it up a little bit and do like some more bells and whistles, but for right now, it's gonna be like me just talking to the camera type videos. And then if y'all want that to change, let me know. Because like I said, this is my second channel, and I don't want to take too much time from my first channel because it does take a lot of time to make those videos, but I really care about basketball, so what can I say? I actually do want to do something about the draft before and after, so you might see like 2 more videos, and then we'll see where we go from there. You might not hear from me again till the end, starting the NBA season, or you might not hear from me at all. I don't know. I really did this on a whim because I was that frustrated and upset. But anyway, once again, it's Darian, the draft nerd. Rest in peace to Caleb Swanigan. That was someone who I watched at Purdue who dominated, and I thought he was going to do really well in the NBA. And he was going through some stuff before he even passed. So just those are things that it brings me back to Chadwick Boseman from Black Panther and just many other movies. How he was sick, people made fun of him, and then you found out he had cancer. Same way with Caleb Swanigan. We all saw that he gained a lot of weight, and people were just, oh, he's fat, this, that, and the other. And then, I mean, there was obviously something wrong. I don't know what was wrong, but there was obviously something wrong. So that's unfortunate, but rest in peace to him and prayers to his family. Same for Jalen Ferguson. I don't know what happened to Jalen Ferguson, unfortunately. I'm not going to sit here and speculate or anything like that, but just rest in peace to Jalen Ferguson. I know he's leaving behind a wife and 2 kids, so that's super unfortunate. And obviously just like family in general, and then the Ravens as a whole, a lot of friends and family. So rest in peace to those 2 young men. You hate to see it like that, especially they're both, what, 26, 25? I'm 26, so it's crazy when that stuff happens. But anyway, rest in peace to them. But yeah, just NBA journalism, it makes me upset so much. And just, if y'all feel the same, leave a comment down below and tell you what upsets you about NBA journalism. But that does it for this video. I'll see y'all next time, maybe. All right, peace.